Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Hana Kai Healing. My name is Hana, and here on this channel I share with you the spiritual and esoteric wisdom of yoga, Ayurveda, and Jyotish, Vedic astrology to guide you on your path of healing and your soul's highest evolution. So today I'm going to be talking about Mercury retrograde and this recent retrograde period that we entered into on March 15th. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So Mercury is retrograde, but what does that actually mean? And what does it mean when a planet goes retrograde? Well, according to Vedic astrology, retrogression is the apparent movement of a planet backwards in the sky. But I say apparent because it's actually not moving backwards. It's just giving this illusion. However, what happens when retrograde occurs is the planet is, in a way, closer to the Earth, and its light is more potent. And Vedic astrology is the science of light. It's the science of how the light, the sun, the reflection of the light, the moon, and the other reflections of the light, the 5 Tata grahas or key planets, as well as the nodes, Rahu and Ketu, impact the world, the collective, and our relationship with the divine. So whenever a planet is retrograde, it's actually seen as a primary strength in Vedic astrology. It's actually a good thing. So like if you were born with retrograde Jupiter or Mercury or Mars or whatever, that actually means that that planet in your chart is stronger than it normally would be. So now that we have Mercury retrograde, Mercury's influence on us, on the planet, on the collective, and on our consciousness is going to be stronger. And so that's actually why we often see different communication related issues happening during a Mercury retrograde period. It's actually more that Mercury related things are happening and being highlighted more in our lives. So just as the positives can happen more, the negatives and the challenges can also show up more, and the areas where we have work to do with regard to our relationship with this particular planet and the things that it governs, it will just show up more. And it's actually a positive time because we have more of an opportunity to have a connection with the planet due to its proximity to the Earth and to heal our relationship with the planet. So during Mercury retrograde, like you've probably noticed, it's way more likely that there are going to be tech-related issues, things like your phone suddenly isn't working or it's glitching, or your computer isn't working, or you're at the airport and there's some sort of logistical issue and your flight's like 3 hours late, or you say something to a friend and you think you're being really clear, but it gets totally misconstrued. These are things that happen quite regularly during Mercury retrograde periods. And what this really teaches us is that there's an opportunity to work on something. Whatever the issue related to Mercury is that's coming up, there's always deeper work to do, such as being more vigilant and disciplined so that we can prevent things from happening. Or perhaps it's learning to be more patient, learning to not put all of our eggs in one basket, to have one particular thing working in a certain way, to be more flexible, to go with the flow. And that's where we get these energies that Mercury governs, these 2 constellations that Mercury rules, Gemini and Virgo. Both Gemini and Virgo are planets of communication and commerce and business and intellect and trade, but they're very different. On one hand, we have Gemini, which is more dual, and it's a little bit more dynamic and moving, and it can have some contradiction in it, and it can be really like fun and creative, and it's really this energy of things shifting moment to moment and kind of being torn between different things, and like in a good way. And then Virgo is more of a fastidious energy of like, this is the way things are. It's a very structured energy. It's an earth sign. So Mercury really teaches us to have both, to have flexibility, but to also create more structure in our lives. And Mercury also governs vata dosha. It's one of the main planets responsible for vata. And we know from Ayurveda that one thing that is really good for vata is structure. It's that Virgo energy. Having some structure in our days, like we do our sadhana at a certain time every day, we eat at a certain time every day, we exercise at a certain time every day, and we have rhythm and routine. This really balances vata. But we don't want to go too far on the rigidity end of the spectrum and have like everything in our day planned out. We want to bring in some of that Gemini energy, which is that fluidity and that ability to change and that ability to be more in our body and be more in our feminine and like listen to what we desire in a moment. And so if we have just some basic structure in our day, like I was saying before, then we also have more windows of opening to bring in more spontaneity and creativity. And so that's actually what I would say would be really good during this time to assess in your own life. And each and every single one of us is different, but maybe look at where am I more on my feminine side and more creative and more fickle, changing moment to moment, and where am I too structured or where am I not structured enough? And how can I create a little more balance? You know, maybe there's something around the way you communicate. Maybe it's too unclear and you could be a little more structured with your communication, or you could learn something with your communication skills, something that is structured to help you communicate more effectively. Or maybe you are too rigid in your routine and in your life and you just need to create a little space for fun and flexibility, which is that more Gemini energy. And so during a Mercury retrograde period, this is a really good time to reflect on these aspects of life. And it's also a really good time, and this really ties into the rest of the transits right now, but this is a really, really good time to ground your nervous system, to practice a lot of breath work and different practices that really regulate you and your body, whatever that looks like. So maybe it's eating well-cooked, well-spiced meals, maybe it's spending time in the garden, maybe it's hiking, maybe it's breath work, something like that. But the reason for that is because Mercury does govern the nervous system. And during this time, as things can be a little unsettling, especially with the other transits like the eclipse and then Saturn's movement as well, things are just very vata right now. Like vata is at an all-time high. Also with Saturn moving signs, Saturn also governs vata. It's like Saturn and Mercury govern vata. And Saturn is about to move for the first time in 3 years, and I'm going to make another video about that, but that's also more vata. Movement is vata and Saturn is vata. So it's a super vata provoking time. And what I would say is pretty much for everyone, a little bit of vata regulation is good. You know, having a little bit of structure around food and diet, taking really good care of your body and nervous system, and making sure that you're grounded will definitely go a long way at this time. And then just being open. During a retrograde period, things will always pop into our lives that we can look at, that we can deepen into, things that we haven't quite healed yet. It could just be as simple as patience. You know, you're at the airport, you're eager to get on the flight, but there's a huge tech issue and you have to wait for a while. And so you get to practice the art of patience. Or something happens where your communication wasn't clear and you can refine your communication with someone that you really care about or someone that you work with. So there are a lot of areas for growth during retrograde periods, and that's in all respects. That's also with the Venus retrograde right now, where there's a lot of opportunity for growth with regard to relationships and how we show up in them and our shadows and that shadow work we are here to do. And yeah, that's actually what I would say about retrogrades, is they're a great time to do shadow work. And so that's why they're actually considered strengths in Vedic astrology, is because they're times where our soul can really evolve and deepen and grow. So Mercury just went retrograde on the 15th of March, the day after the eclipse, very intense energy, and is going to remain retrograde until April 7th. And then it's really like after April into May when things will just in general in the collective become a little more clear and things will start to feel a little less heavy and confusing and destabilizing. So again, my advice during this time is really focus on grounding your vata and be open to the lessons that are available to you. So I hope you found this kind of short video helpful on Mercury retrograde. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them in the comments section. Feel free to also like this video and subscribe if this resonates with you. And also if there's other things that you would like me to make videos on, I'm really, really open to that right now. So please let me know. And I will definitely be checking in with you soon with more updates on the upcoming solar eclipse and Shani, aka Saturn's transit into Pisces, moving for the first time in 3 years. It's a big one.